sure you're helping with her seat there, my brother. Wow, what was that? I don't have to say anything now. So thank you. Shelby Lewis, special student, special person. If we all had her worth ethic, we'd probably own our own golf courses. Congrats to Tommy Herzog also and the rest of the award winners, and also to the committee for selecting me. Now is the time to take a few people who impacted my life and tell you a little bit about them. You don't get up here by yourself, that's for sure. We all know that. It was 40-some years, there's a lot of people past you. Mike Pickett, thanks for the nomination into the Hall. Jimmy Hammond and Ned Weaver for making my life comfortable in Stonewater. Dr. Bill O'Neill, University School, for helping me spend a lot of time with high school students. The sports, we had 4 state championships, and helped me tremendously with my master's program. Some of you know Joe Christosi, he was the golf professional at Oakland for a long, long time. He never let me hit a golf ball unless I walked into the golf shop and showed him my grip and my setup. It's good advice. He also changed me to a right-handed player. My older brother, Barry, at the table over there, had the only set of left-handed clubs. So when I was 8 years old, I'd hit shots left-handed instead of right-handed. And trusted me and treated me just like a son. I mean, it was incredible what Joe Chris would do to the kids in Oakland at that time. So, Dominic Antonucci, 40 years of relationship. Dominic and I used to teach golf schools in Florida. And then we went to Arizona, then we went to Palm Springs. And I was kind of new at that time, learning the game as far as his teaching is concerned. I'd just gotten off the tour, and somebody said, you gotta go learn how to teach. I said, teach? I don't know how to teach, just work on my own game. So Dominic was interesting that he was so far ahead of his time, he taught the Victoria's Secret lesson. And he didn't know what it was, because there wasn't any Victoria's Secret, was it 40 years ago? Dominic did this. You had to have your right toe dirty, you had your chest at the target, and you had to have your hands over your left shoulder. He was really ahead of his time, because we weren't teaching forward swing back then. Everything was the backswing. Dominic, great time. Kermit Zarley, some of you know Kermit Zarley, played the professional tour. We used to hit balls every Saturday and Sunday morning at Rice University at 7 o'clock. He taught me so much about the tremendous knowledge about the golf game and also a lot about life. Here's a story of an 8-year-old who needed to find a place to practice because the Oakland Golf Club did not have a driving range. We just had the little 9 holes, some of you know, the old 9, between number 1 and number 9, you hit balls there. But Joe Chris was giving lessons at that time. So I decided that I wanted to be a better player and beat my older brother, who told me I'd never beat him, and that was the best thing he'd ever told me anyway. That I would go to the president of Oakland College, go into his office, and get permission from him to hit balls at the Oakland Athletic Field. He gave me a nice note. He said, here's your note. He says, if a security officer comes and gets you, he says, just show him this. He says, you have my permission. Oakland was a great town to grow up in. When you didn't have anything to do, you got in a lot of trouble. That's why we took up golf. Michael Kiley, sitting right over here, was responsible for me after coming off the PGA Professional Tour to go to Lancaster Country Club in Lancaster, Pennsylvania, and then to come back to Canterbury 2 years later. Actually, 2 years at Lancaster, 2 years at Canterbury. And then moved on to Mr. Connor's position at Beachmont Country Club. There's a little experience. My son's sitting right out here at the table. JR, stand up a second. Now, isn't it only fitting that he works for the PGA Tour and I'm a golf professional? When I was going back and forth to Beachmont from Mayfield Village, I dropped JR off in the morning at Canterbury to caddy. Came home the first day, I said, how'd you do today? He says, didn't do anything. I just sat in the yard and read my book. Second day, how'd you do today? Sat in the yard and wrote my book. Third day, I said, you know what are the rest of the kids doing out there? What are the rest of the caddies doing while you're reading your book? He said, oh, they're cleaning carts, they're sweeping the place up, all this thing. So why don't you try doing that tomorrow? Hello, Mikey. How are you? You got him, didn't you? You have to sit for 3 days before you get a loop. So the next time I asked him, how'd you do? He says, I got a 9-hole loop today, Dad. It's great. This was great. I'm making money. So anyway, make a long story short, Mr. Kiley is the smartest duck in the pond. You know that. We got those caddies going. Joe Christosic introduced me a fellow named Ivan Roberts, who owned Aquamarine Lodge in Avon Lake. Mr. Roberts gave me a phone call one day and he said, Bob, he said, why don't you play golf for a living? And I said, sounds good to me. 2 credit cards later, I was in Florida next week. That's how long it took me to get there. My brother Barry was a great inspiration because he was a lefty. He still is a lefty. And he won the state championship and he got beat in the Nationals in the 7th extra hole. But I didn't realize it until I had started teaching and how valuable a left-handed golf swing is to a right-handed person. If you have kids that you really want them to understand the golf swing, get the best left-hander in town, say, look at that, and just mirror it. So every time I was hitting the golf ball, it was actually, I was looking at him. He can still play a little bit, a little on the heavy side, but he's okay. Your golf swing was a Picasso. They should put it in the Louvre. That's how good it is. Well, it all started with, all the work ethic and everything started with Robert L. Bourne Sr., who they can remember. I mean, if I'll tell you what, if the trash wasn't on the street corner Friday afternoon, it was in the basement, all right? This is back in the 50s and the 60s. Dad told me 3 things. Took me to the steel mill. He says, I never want to see you here again. All right? Took me to an AA meeting. He says, I never want to see you here again. And then he dropped me off one afternoon on his way to work to the Service Plaza in Vermillion, Ohio. He says, there's a 75 cents an hour job. You can clean John's until you find your own job, because I'm getting you this one. Guess what? 2 weeks later, I was working for Joe Chris, cleaning clubs. That was my introduction to the golf business. Porter Behrman Daly, we have a grandfather that brought us all up. There's 3 of us. Let me introduce my table here. Look. Mary Brennan, my significant other. Mary Brennan just tells you how it is. She says, sure as good you're cute, because you've been out here a long time ago. That's what she tells me. My little brother Billy, my son JR, and my brother Barry. Porter Behrman Daly, Oberlin, Ohio. She was a dietitian at Oberlin College, and she taught us everything. I mean, everything about dressing, everything about manners. It was every Sunday at 12 o'clock, coat and tie, 3 forks on this side, 2 knives over here, finger bowl up here. Porter Behrman Daly taught us love, respect, and manners. We had that growing up. Very fortunate. And I had a little German Shepherd named Heidi. Heidi was incredible. Barry and I figured out one time her vocabulary was at least 500 words. And every time we hit a golf ball, my bag would be on the ground right here, and she'd be next to it, hit the golf ball. That was like a trigger to her, like that. And she'd get up and go. Then she'd find my golf bag, and she'd sit next to it. You know, I don't know if she liked the golf course more than she liked Joe Chris giving her hot dogs all the time, but she started to gain a little bit of weight, and she had hip problems. Let's not forget one of the greatest golf professionals in Northern Ohio, Mr. George Bigham. George and I had a lot of talks the last 2 or 3 years before he passed. And we'd sit down and we'd talk about, you know, what's going to happen when it's over. And I kind of knew George was failing about 2 years ago. And we had very good discussions about this. And it kind of getting me ready. I'm only 72 years old. I'll take 15 more right now. I called him one time when I got home. I says, I'm going to meet you for lunch. It was on a Wednesday. And we had a great lunch. And I called him back on a Friday. He says, "You in town yet?" I said, "Yeah, I'm here. Let's go have lunch again." And we had a great relationship. James Ross Bourne, your mom and I separated at a young age. This is going to be hard to get this one on. And I thank God that you're here today and you have been close to me this whole time, because some people are not that fortunate. All right? I love you to death. Glad you could come. This is kind of what it's all about. I got a note last week from one of my students' parents. And I'm going to read you this note. It says, "Dear Bob, we can't thank you enough for everything you have done for Michael over the past 2 years. You have helped him improve his golf game. More importantly, you have provided such wonderful guidance and advice. He says, Mr. Bourne's the man. You make him feel like he can master this game physically and maybe more important, mentally. We appreciate you very much. He'll be back soon. Mary." Connors, I can't resist this story. I can't resist it. I'm looking at you here. You're so good looking. Why'd you lose your hair, dude? Anyway, I got to beat my story. I wasn't going to tell any stories because I think I'm just about at time, aren't I, Tom? I'm pretty close. That's what I thought. Let me tell this one story. I figured you'd have you on the clock. I didn't want to. Yeah. So is my first head job. I had to tell you this. First head job was Beachmont, which was lucky. Lancaster, Canterbury, and then Beachmont. And as a head professional, you have to enforce the dress codes. All right, Michael? You with me? Yeah. Okay. So I saw something happening on Tuesday morning, and I said, "Kathy Goldberg, I want to see you in my office." And he knows who I'm talking about. She says, "What's wrong? Did I do something wrong?" I said, "No, I just want to see you in my office." So about 10 minutes later, I go to my office, and there's Kathy, propped up on my desk, got her legs crossed. She says, "What'd I do wrong?" And you got to remember now, I'm 33 years old, first head professional job, first member I've confronted, and I'm looking at her and I says, "I really don't know how to say this, but without a doubt, you have absolutely the most gorgeous legs in the city of Cleveland and the state of Ohio." And next thing I know, she bolts into the golf shop. She buys 6 pairs of shorts that are the right length and 6 tops. Now you can tell her that story just here next. I want to thank the committee for all their hard work and the awards, the rest of the awards people. Thank you so much, because you don't get up here by yourself. It just doesn't happen. I could say, I'm like Jimmy Hamlin, I could sit there all day and start talking about people. I mean, it's incredible. So anyway, as far as I'm concerned, this awards ceremony is just the beginning for me. And thank you so much. Appreciate it.